Welcome once more to Reflections and to Canon Andrew White. And today we're going to have a chat about terrorism and the causes of it. Now, Andrew's been Middle East for donkey's years, so if anybody knows about this, he does. And Andrew, you've got underlying all this the fact that terrorism is caused by somebody losing power. Explain that, would you?
Well, one of the biggest reasons for terrorism, as far as I can see, is when people are depowered. Everybody needs power in life. And I always talk very simply, dividing people into the good guys and the bad guys. And when you're working amongst the bad guys, they can become good guys if their needs are met.
You mean they understand money?
Money, money, money. Wherever they are, whatever the country, whatever the situation, they want to have money. Why do they want money? Because they want power and influence. And so much as terrorism is about having lost their power. Whenever any group loses its power, it becomes potentially dangerous. The example I gave you earlier when I wrote to you was that when Saddam was pulled down, all of the people of his tribe who lived in his area, which was known as a Sunni Triangle, had previously been paid just to be nice guys for Saddam. What did they do? They said nice things about Saddam. They publicly appeared supporting him. Whatever his people told them to do, they did. And it was very interesting the way this worked. The extremely expensive area where all of Saddam's power was in a place called Little Venice, in the green zone of Iraq near the Republican Palace. And there was a whole area made up of beautiful little canals and rivers and houses. And once Saddam fell, I found myself being given one of these sections of property. And I had no idea what it had previously been used for. But I soon discovered that it was one of their many brothels. And we were establishing in it a house of prayer. Now, I'd done things like turn Saddam's swimming pool into baptismal pools, but to turn a brothel into a prayer house was even a challenge for me.
My goodness me, Merry Webb. We weave. Andrew, in all this, we're talking about good guys and bad guys. Now, is there any chance ever of going to a bad guy? Saddam. and talking to him direct and saying, look, what do you want out of this? Let's get a peace formula here. Or would they just not listen?
When they're really, really evil and bad, they won't listen. The only way, I'd been in Iraq for 5 years before Saddam was captured. We had tried everything by peaceful means to bring about change. We failed. And in the end, the only solution was to try him, to find him guilty, and to then remove him.
You say remove him. Is this where the Americans and the British come in very useful?
As regards Saddam, it had to be one of the strongest powers in the world. And the strongest power is America. And that can work for good and for bad.
When we're talking about good and bad, let's throw you a curveball here. How would you describe Mr. Putin? Is he a bad guy, or has he got a point of view that we can deal with him? Or is Trump wasting his time?
I think he is a very, very bad guy. I think he is really evil. And the worst guys always use religion as a weapon. And Putin tries to present himself as a righteous Orthodox Christian. But he's not. He's about death and destruction. And what he has done to Zelensky's people in the Ukraine, even this week, shows the nature of his evil. But as regards terrorism, terrorism is often about simple people who want to be given power. And either you give them power by somebody who's an evil dictator like Saddam, saying, I want you on my side and I will do this and this and this for you. Or else you take out the evil dictator and then you go to those bad guys. And what we did was we said these bad guys have power and they left to their own devices, they use that power for bad things. But we want to take them over onto the other side. If you can control people negatively, we said, what will you have to do? What will we have to do so that you can control people positively? And so we came up with a plan called the Sons of Iraq. We said, we as the Americans and coalitions do not want to rule you. You must rule yourselves. Will you do that? And they said, no. If we paid you to do that, would you do it? Oh, yes, if it helps us. And it was all about money.
I'm minded to think about Afghanistan. And Nigel Farage this week has been speaking about what he would like to do to stop the immigrant boats coming to England in particular. and whether he'd thought it through at the time. But somebody did and got hold of this and said, you can't send these people back to Afghanistan, they'll only be killed. Now, as usual, half a truth, which is a lie. If you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that actually Afghanistan is, as we speak, building 21 cities to get the population back there that have run away. And this is the Taliban. Therefore, it would be...
And they want to pay them and do good things for them to keep them. But if they oppose them, they will not receive.
But there's a lot of money flowing, we don't know where from, into Afghanistan to get these cities built. So they're being paid off in their own way.
And the fact is, in a place like Afghanistan, they could be receiving money from the good guys or the bad guys.
Indeed.
Both want to put money in to bring about change. Who will get there first?
The thing about Christianity always is said to be turn the other cheek. Now, that's waved in front of the average Christian quite a lot of times, usually as an excuse. But is there a practical way, and obviously this is one thing we're talking about, of turning the other cheek and getting on, make sure the job's done?
Not when you're dealing with overt evil. Evil beyond evil. They will not turn the other cheek. And this is one of the problems with controlling terror. You control terror by force or by paying for it. And in Iraq, when we knew that these guys were willing to do good if we paid them, then we decided it's the only way. And the American government and the coalition and you and I all contributed to getting the bad guys to become good guys. And they did become good guys for a while, whilst they were being paid by the coalition. And they paid them to establish this group that we called the Sons of Iraq. So Iraq was not being run by the sons of the US, but the sons of Iraq themselves.
In all this mixing pot, Andrew, we've got other things actually. That is the Sunni Muslim and the Shia Muslim.
Absolutely. And there is a huge battle between the two.
Then you've got the tribal leaders. I mean, it's so complicated.
You've got the tribal leaders for the Sunni and the Ayatollahs and the Grand Ayatollahs for the Shia. And the fact is that once they had established the sovereign government of Iraq, that increasingly was not under governmental political rule, but under Shia rule from the powerful Ayatollahs. And one of the things that we've got to realize is that not all the Ayatollahs were evil. Some of them were very, very good and kind and loving people. And I even called myself living right in Cardamere where I did, which was by the Grand Ayatollah and by the big shrine. I said, I'm really as much a Shia Christian as anything. And I used to go to dinner every week with the Grand Ayatollah. And it was very difficult because every week I would go and they would have a whole sheep on the table, a whole roasted sheep. I used to be a vegetarian. I gave up very quickly because there was no way that you could shuffle the food around on your plate.
Indeed, listen, it's fascinating. So many problems are actually solved over a meal. You're a fan of that, and
When we meet, we eat.
yeah. But what about the future, Andrew? We're faced with the Old Testament prophecy, if you wish, saying there will never be peace between Jew and Arab.
And after Ishmael, it says that the Arabs will always be like a drunken donkey. And we are dealing between one of the most intelligent races in the world and one of the craziest races in the world. You can get them both round the same table and begin to do business, and that's what I've done all my life. It is possible, but it takes years and years. I thought I would be able to do it in 5 days. 5 years we hadn't even began to hear each other's stories. I always say we must begin by listening to the other's story. But after 5 years, we had not even heard each other's story.
And when it says in the Quran, you've got to cheat and lie when you're dealing with the dhimmis, that's the rest of us. I mean, can you trust what they say?
Well, that's a big question. Not really. But the only way of getting peace is to at least try and listen to their story. One of the key things we have to do is to listen to each other. And when we listen, we can be transformed.
Thank you for your insights, Andrew. Lot to think and pray about there. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Rodney.